Modern day siblings in MMA. From the Shamrocks to the Diaz brothers, sibling dynasties have been a staple of MMA for decades. We all know those OG sibling pairs who helped build the sport while making a name for themselves by throwing down in the octagon. Now it's time for a new generation of siblings, and much is expected of them. Many fresh faces are continuing that tradition, some are on the rise, while others are already dominating in the UFC and beyond. Today, let's dive in and talk about some of the modern sibling duos making waves in the fight game and learn more about their stories. The Topuria brothers. First up, we have the Topuria brothers. We all know about Ilia Topuria. El Matador is an absolute savage at featherweight, knocking out opponents left and right while making a name for himself in the UFC. But recently, we've come to know that he has a brother, Alexander Topuria, who's also a straight-up warrior. Ilia is definitely the more well-known of the two right now. He's undefeated and was already a UFC champion before vacating his title. Now, his sights are set on the UFC lightweight belt, but don't sleep on the elder Topuria. Reportedly, Alexander put his own career on hold just to support his younger brother's rise in the sport. With a record of 6-1, including 5 finishes, Alexander recently made his UFC debut in Australia, and big things are expected from him. Known as El Conquistador, he combines an orthodox striking stance with black belt level proficiency in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, making him effective in stand-up exchanges and ground combat. Both brothers take immense pride in representing their Georgian roots, and this is only the beginning for them. Keep an eye out for some breaking news regarding El Matador and the 155-pound division soon. The Nurmagomedov brothers, the Dagestani dynasty. Of course, we can't talk about MMA siblings without mentioning the legendary Nurmagomedov clan. The revolution, once led by the late great Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, is still going strong under his son Khabib. Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov is arguably one of the greatest fighters of all time, and his family continues to dominate. His cousin brothers Umar and Usman Nurmagomedov are both rising stars in MMA. Umar is a serious threat at bantamweight with an 18-1 record, his only loss coming against current champ Merab Dvalishvili. Though he'll have to wait for another shot at the title, expect him to be back in contention soon. Meanwhile, Usman is the undefeated king of the lightweight division in the PFL, boasting a 19-0 record. Unlike most Dagestani fighters, Usman's striking sets him apart, though he blends it seamlessly with traditional Dagestani grappling. The Nurmagomedov brothers are continuing Khabib's legacy of domination, and trust me, there are many more from the land of the eagle still to come. Alex and Alina Pereira. Next, we head to Brazil. You all know the name of Alex Portan Pereira, Chama. He's a former 2-division UFC champ, and if you've been living under a rock, he was also a glory kickboxing champion before stepping into MMA. But today, let's talk about his sister, Alina Pereira, who's carving out her own path in the fight game. She possesses the same savage striking skills as her brother. Alina is just getting started in MMA, and while her career hasn't gone exactly as planned so far, with more experience, she has the potential to rise. However, outside of MMA, she's already proven herself in kickboxing much like her brother. With a left hook from hell, she boasts a 2-0 record in karate combat, finishing both of her opponents with brutal left hooks. Honestly, it feels like only a matter of time before she makes a name for herself on the regional MMA circuit, eventually earning a shot in the big leagues. With Alex remaining a fan favorite despite his recent setback, and Alina rising fast, the Pereira family could very well be Brazil's next combat sports powerhouse. Shavkat and Sora Rakhmonova. Let's travel from one corner of the world to another, straight to the Kazakh steppe, where we find the Rakhmonov siblings, Shavkat Rakhmonov and his sister Sora Rakhmonova. Shavkat, the Nomad, is a beast, already turning heads in the UFC with a perfect 18-0 record, including 17 finishes.
Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Trust me, it's not just Laura Sanko who rolls her eyes when they talk about him. But did you know he has a sister in the fight game as well? Sora Rakhmonova is making a name for herself in the Asian MMA circuit, currently holding a record of 4-1. She was on the verge of a big break with a debut on Dana White's Contender Series, but a shoulder injury forced her to pull out. For now, her toughest test will have to wait, but she's someone to watch for in the future. Who knows, we might see Sora in the UFC soon. Until then, we'll have to settle for watching the Nomad continue his dominance. The Shevchenko sisters. Staying in the Eastern Hemisphere, we move to Kyrgyzstan, home of one of the most dominant female champions in UFC history, Valentina Shevchenko. The Bullet has been a force in the flyweight division, combining elite striking with high-level grappling. With a 24-4 record, all of her losses have come against eventual champions or flyweight legends.
Valentina 125 is just a monster.
Yeah.
She's a monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's so good.
It's such a huge gap, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a huge gap between, like, I don't know, a #1 contender and champ.
But Valentina isn't the only Shevchenko in the UFC. Her elder sister, Antonina Shevchenko, is also a fighter. Antonina may not have the same dominant career as Valentina, but she's still a highly skilled striker with a mixed UFC record of 3-4. Together, the Shevchenko sisters remain one of the most iconic sister duos in MMA. The Edwards brothers. Now let's head over to the British Isles and talk about the Edwards brothers, Leon and Fabian. Leon is the former UFC welterweight champion, best known for his legendary head kick knockout of Kamaru Usman. If you haven't seen that knockout, seriously, what are you doing here? Go watch it now. That was cinema. A real-life Rocky moment turned real-life Rocky. Leon has proven time and time again that he belongs at the top. Meanwhile, his brother Fabian Edwards has been making waves in Bellator's middleweight division. Holding a 13-4 record, Fabian has fought for the title twice, but fallen short against Johnny Eblen. Both Edwards brothers are a problem for anyone in their division, and their rise to prominence is especially inspiring given the hardships they endured growing up. The Pitbull brothers. Back to Brazil, we have the legendary Pitbull brothers, Patricio and Patricky Pitbull. Patricio has been a dominant force in Bellator's featherweight division for over 15 years, even claiming the lightweight title by knocking out Iron Michael Chandler. His elder brother, Patricky, is also a Bellator lightweight champion and a long-standing top contender. Now, Patricky has signed with the MMA startup GFL, while Patricio is set to make his UFC debut at UFC 314 after leaving Bellator for PFL. Though both are on the downswing of their careers, make no mistake, they're still dangerous fighters with that signature Brazilian fire. The Walker brothers. Lastly, we stay in Brazil, but with a twist, Johnny and Walter Walker. Johnny Walker is one of the most electrifying light heavyweights in the UFC, known for his highlight reel knockouts. However, he's also known for inconsistent performances, holding a UFC record of 7-6. Meanwhile, his half-brother Walter Walker is fighting in the heavyweight division. After losing his UFC debut, he's bounced back with 2 consecutive wins, both via heel hook, showcasing impressive submission skills. While Walter is still making his way in the sport, one thing's clear: the Walker brothers bring excitement to the cage. These sibling duos are carrying on MMA's family traditions, proving that fighting truly runs in the blood. Who do you think will be the next great sibling dynasty in MMA? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more epic combat sports stories. But before you go, take a look at the video on your left where we find out more about the unsung hero behind the phenomenon we know as El Matador. His elder brother put his career on pause to help his younger brother to greatness. Let's track Mr. Alexander Topuria and find out more about who he really is.